Hi, how are you?
Really well.
I love the journey. No matter how far down you can go, you can always climb back up.
Don't even have to climb. Just have to stop holding on to the bottom.
And your teachings are absolutely amazing. I love how...
You love how good it feels to remember.
Absolutely.
To remember who you are and how it all works. And that's that resonance you keep feeling. Like, I knew this, I knew that, I knew that.
It's funny how you can go from being little and being directly, almost having no resistance, and when you did, it was so short. Because you were always looking for the next best thing.
More, 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 the mantra of the universe.
Right. And it's funny how, as we continue to get pinched off by parents and ourselves, really, my question is at what point does your beliefs match what you know? And what point does maybe you stop believing in so many things and just know and...
Well, here's how it goes, and you're going to like this and not like this and then like it. So brace yourself. It goes like this, essentially. So you sift, know what you don't want, know what you do want. It's just the balance and the contrast of life that you so eagerly focused yourself into. So you launch this rocket of desire, let's say this rocket of desire, which came out of life, and it wasn't even a strong conscious rocket, but it was a point of clarification just the same. But it felt vague and odd to you because it was so new. Life presented it. But your habit is over here with facing the reality, and so this is new and unfamiliar. But now that it's happened, especially if it keeps happening, which it will, after a little while, it gets your attention and you look over there, and if you're wise, and you are, and you care about feeling good, you have to find a way of resonating with this new becoming that has happened. So this new idea, which felt weird and odd, you focus on it and you talk about it, and you talk more about it than its absence, and then it starts to feel familiar. In fact, it starts to feel so familiar that it feels natural. And then you start not just hoping for it, but you believe it, and now you're standing in the place of it. So now, whatever that was, now you're living it. But along with that, and this is the part you don't like, most humans, along with that, you got what you wanted, but you also got a whole new vantage point. A whole new set of contrasting experiences, which eventually, usually very quickly, causes you to launch another unfamiliar rocket of desire, which feels weird to you. So you focus on it, you talk yourself into it, you soothe yourself, you bring yourself up to speed with it. Now you're standing over there in that vibration, and now it manifests. And right along with that manifestation is a whole new vantage point and a whole new set of contrasting experiences that's going to take all day long, which causes you to launch another rocket of desire. And so what continues to happen is your point of view keeps affording you more contrast, which is so wonderful because it gives you more ability to create. And once you get the hang of this, once you understand the slight discomfort in the new, then it doesn't have to be uncomfortable because you know the law. You know that doubt slows things down, and you know that belief speeds things up, and you know that you have the ability to focus more on what you want and less on what you don't want. So you get really good at no longer accepting the reality that others are trying to force down your throat, and instead applying what you know, what your guidance system is showing you the way that it works, you see. It's a wonderful thing to be your age and know what you now know.
I'm just going to tell a story. At a younger age, when you know who you are and you pinch yourself off, and society sets you up for this. It's funny how if you don't go back, you keep pinching yourself off, and you always say, why? When it's always the emotion that you talk about, that you look for. And I tried many different things continue to do many different things that make it easier just to feel good. And I would like some explanation, or maybe if you were in my physical shoes, some of the things that maybe when you were in the body, maybe eating well, exercising, some of the things that you can do just to feel really good about yourself and not necessarily have to think about all the details of what you want. Because like you say, the Vortex already has everything in there for you.
Well, here's the rule of thumb that we would apply if we were standing in your physical shoes, and that is, when we're feeling good, we would talk in greater detail about whatever it is we're feeling good about. And anytime we're not feeling good, we would stop the talk. Go general. When you don't feel good, don't be specific, because that speeds things up. And you don't want to speed yourself up in the opposition to what you want. So just talk more if it feels good and talk less if it doesn't. That really is the simple and very powerful tool. Do you understand that when you stand in any moment in time, that the non-physical part of you that we are calling your inner being is focused upon exactly what you're focused upon at exactly that same time, and has a very strong perspective, or you might even say opinion, about what you're focused upon. So if when you focus on it, it feels really good to you, that means you're so in sync with your inner being that your thriving is heightened. But if you feel negative emotion, that means the very thoughts you're thinking are in absolute opposition to what your inner being knows. So when you're being hard on yourself, or when you're regretting something, or when you're remembering some put down that someone applied to you, or some put down that you applied to someone else, it's really vivid. In fact, we want to put it to you in such a strong way. If your inner being didn't have such love and respect and understanding of your value, you could never feel the negative emotion that you feel. Because the negative emotion that you feel is relational to the way your inner being feels. So doesn't that make sense? When you're mad at yourself or down on yourself, that's proof of how your inner being feels. The more you hate something, the more proof there is of the love that is there that you're denying in that moment. Once you get that in your consciousness, then that sense of worthiness and that sense of right place, right time comes forward. You've said something a time or two here that we want to help you to feel clarification about, and that is, it does feel like life's doing things to you, and it does feel like others are doing things to you. It feels like people in power or people in control can affect your experience, because if they weren't doing that, you wouldn't be feeling this. But there is no assertion in this attraction-based universe. So the hard and sometimes suck-it-up, buttercup, uncomfortable truth of it is, you're doing it all to yourself. And as our friend before acknowledged, very often your inner being called you into things to give you clarification. You would not have a vortex like you have at this early age if it were not for the life experience that you've lived. And every bit of that was intended as you made the decision to come into this physical experience. So many choices about so many things that are serving you so well, you see. And so here you are, thinking very clearly, understanding the process, and on your way to deliberate creation. There is no sweeter living of life than to have launched a rocket, maybe even unconsciously, somehow come into awareness that there's something that you want that you're not a vibrational match to, because your negative emotion is letting you know it. And then focus yourself into positive emotion about it, and then watch the universe yield it to you. That conscious realization or association between the thoughts that you have deliberately been thinking and the manifestation that follows, there is no greater high or greater enthusiasm or greater zest or greater awareness of your purpose of life than that. Talk about enhancing your sense of worthiness, you see. No one else can pronounce you worthy, because nobody else can pinch you off from the abundance that you seek. It's only you that can pinch yourself off. So it's only you that can open up to it. So you have to prove isn't exactly the right word that we're wanting Esther to find, but you have to demonstrate to yourself what your vibrational acuity is. And then just practice it. And then watch others stand in astonishment as they see you say it and mean it and get it over and over and over again. Teach to the clarity of your example. I don't talk about what I don't want. And I don't listen to others talking about what I don't want. If I'm at a dinner table or at a party and they're talking about lack or sickness or things that I don't want, I get up and I go find something else to do, and I come back, and if they're still talking about it, I get up and I come back, and if they're still talking about it, I get up, and if I come back and they're still talking about it, I get up. Do not endure conversations coming out of your mouth or anybody else's mouth about yours or anybody else's deficiency. And don't walk away in anger. You're not running away from what you don't want. You never can. You run away from it, it just comes right along with you, like the toilet paper that you've got stuck in your shoe. Go to where you want to go, in other words, and look back smiling at them. Love you guys. Talk to you when you start talking right.
I love how good it feels to talk with you and move the energy in certain ways that gives me a much better perspective on what I'm doing right and wrong.
You're never doing anything wrong. You're doing some clarifying things. How do you find your balance? How do you find your balance if you don't test it a little bit? How do you know what feels good if you don't allow yourself to know what feels bad? How do you know what your inner being really thinks about you and other things if you don't think in opposition to it sometimes? How do you know?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't know.
Mm-mm.
And it's helpful to remember, sometimes your inner being will call you through something that you think you don't want on your way to something that you do want, because the clarification is necessary. Because you've already created it, how are you going to define the specifics of what you want if you don't have some association with it in order to define them? Did you hear that? That is so important. It's so important to acknowledge that in earlier conversations we've been talking about the emotional scale, where vulnerability or fear are in the worst feeling place. And then there's anger, which feels way better. And then there's blame and guilt and overwhelmment and frustration, long before you get to any of those feelings that feel like appreciation and love and joy and all of that sort of stuff. And so if you're feeling like a victim, anger is your friend. Your inner being is calling you and can call you from despair all the way into joy. You just can't hear it. That's what we were talking about with our friend earlier. But you can hear the inspiration to anger because you're close enough to it. You can hear that. So others will look at you and think, oh, Abraham, that can't be right. You can't be saying that someone's inner being, someone whose source energy would actually call someone to anger. Yeah, call you into anger, because it's so much better than the despair that you're feeling, or the vulnerability that you're feeling, or the victim that you're feeling. And so that anger is a step in the right direction. And yes, indeed, your inner being is calling you not to stay there, because your inner being is going to keep calling you from anger, revenge, all of that, right through it into hope, and so on. But your inner being is always calling you. Talk about a friend, talk about support, talk about someone who knows, talk about never-ending love, talk about understanding who you are, you see. So the more you know that, the more you are likely to listen for that, to feel for that, until in time those vibrations are rarely in your experience. They will never be completely gone, because you're going to be eager for life and looking for more experiences and wanting more exposure and wanting to put more things into your vortex. But it's all good.